Hi everyone, Grant for the Flame Learning channel. In this video, we'll go through the process of incorporating CDLs into the Flame products as part of your production pipeline. Now for those of you who have never heard of a CDL, this stands for Color Decision List. This gives you the ability to make color decisions in the early stages of production and carry them through the production pipeline. So looking at this in a different way, the EDL, AAF, and XML formats carry across the editorial structure of your production, and the CDL or CC formats carry across the color information per shot within the edit. So EDLs, AAFs, and XMLs are for editorial decisions, and CDLs or CC files are for color decisions. Now the CDLs are quite basic, and this helps maintain the compatibility across a range of applications. For example, the CDLs can contain slope, power, and offset adjustments, as well as saturation. There are no secondaries, power windows, or selectives for advanced grading. Just straightforward color adjustments. Now when it comes to the Flame 2018.2 update, there are multiple workflows to apply CDLs to individual shots, or CDLs to a timeline containing multiple segments. The tool that is used to apply CDL data in Flame is known as Look. You can find this in multiple locations within the application. Firstly, if you go to the Tools view and look under the Look menu, you will find the Look module. Secondly, you have the Look timeline effects, which we'll come back to when looking at CDLs in a timeline. Finally, switching to the Batch view, if you scroll the node bin, you will find the Look node. So using either the Look module in the Tools view or the Look node in the Batch schematic, you can apply CDL information to individual shots. Now connect the output of the clip into the front input of the Look node. Double-click the Look node for its controls and press F4 for the result view. Firstly, the Look node derives its working color space from the incoming source media. If the media is unknown or untagged, this option is grayed out. However, when the media is tagged with a color space, you can use the defined color space or click the pull-down menu and define a different color space to use within the Look node. Now the Look node is an interactive color grading tool with all the color adjustments supported by the CDL. So it's absolutely plausible to create a look within the Look node and save it out as CDL data. So you can adjust the various controls to develop the look. And once you're done, you can click the Export button. In the file browser, you would give your look a file name, and you could also give it a CC number ID as an extra option. This is saved in the CC format, which can be reloaded in Flame or other applications. The reason for having a file name as well as a CC ID number is that when it comes to timelines, you can match the CDL data to the various segments either through a file name or the matching CC ID number. So that is how you can apply the Look node to one shot and create and export CDL data. If you were to click Import and navigate to any CDLs you may have been provided with, you can load them and apply them to the current shot. Now as a big tip, the Look node is a fully interactive color tool in the Flame products. This means it can also be driven through a grading panel if you prefer grading through a tactile surface. Now let's switch over to the timeline view and look at how to use CDLs in the context of your edit. So here I have conformed a timeline that consists of 4 shots. If you need to manually apply a CDL to a segment, select the segment and call up the Effects ribbon. You can use the Effects button or press Ctrl-Tab. Here you will find the Look timeline effects. When you apply it to the segment, the Look controls will appear in the mini toolbar. You can adjust the look here, or you can click the Editor button to enter the main Look menu. You can create your own look or import a provided CC file. However, what you have seen so far is quite an intensive process, especially if you have to manually load a CDL on each segment. I would almost consider this as a last resort of applying CDLs to segment in a sequence. So now that you know how to manually apply CDLs, the good news is that there are two ways to automate this, and this depends on how you prepare the CDL data earlier in the pipeline. So the first method is that some applications have the ability to write the CDL metadata into the EDL or AAF. This means that as a shot is loaded and conformed, the CDL data is automatically applied to it. Let's look at that example first. I'll delete the sequence from the Reels group and switch to the Conform view. Calling up the contextual menu, we can load a new EDL. In the browser, we'll navigate to a folder called EDL Embed CDL. Inside this folder, we have an EDL that contains editorial and color information. We'll import the EDL into the Conform view. Next, let's search and link the media to the sequence. Click Search Location. Navigate to the media and click Set. If the media doesn't link, ensure the match criteria is correct. For this example, the match criteria will use tape and source timecode. Click Link Sources and switch to the timeline view. When you examine each segment in the sequence, they all have a look timeline effects with color information automatically associated. Looking at the sequence through the player, each shot is graded according to the embedded CDL data within the EDL. That was the looks that were supplied, and you can alter or even remove them if required. So for method 1, the CDL information was contained in the timeline interchange formats. Another common scenario is that you could be given the EDL, XML or AAF, and you would also be supplied with a separate set of CC files for each shot in the edit. Let's look at that example. Once again, we'll clear the Reels group and go back to the Conform view. Now right-click and load a new EDL, AAF or XML. This time, we'll navigate to a folder containing an EDL. This EDL has no embedded CDL metadata. It is simply a standard CMX 3600 EDL. Import the EDL and click the Search Location button to define the path for the media. We'll navigate to the Media folder, and before I set the path, I want to point out that there is a subfolder called CC, which contains the CC files per shot. So the shots are separate from their CDL information. We'll come back to this shortly. Select the Media folder and click Set. Match the criteria if necessary and link the sources. Switch to the timeline view and bring up the player. Looking at the segments in the sequence, there are no look timeline effects associated with the edited segments. Even if you applied the look timeline effects to any segment with the effects ribbon, the look values will still be the default settings. Remove the look timeline effects off the segment, and let's add in an extra step. To make Flame aware of the CC files in the subfolder, click the main pop-up menu, choose Preferences, and select Color Management. In the middle of the Preferences window, you will see a text box called Media Relative Look Search Path. This box defines a relative search path from the media to the CC files in the subfolder. By default, it is looking for a Look subfolder. Hence the reason why none of the CDL data was loaded in the Look timeline effects. Let's change the search path to match the subfolder name, which is CC. Now close the preferences. Select the first segment in the sequence and call up the effects ribbon. add the look timeline effects. Instantly, the correct look is applied to the specific shot. The reason why this works is that Flame knows where to find the CC files in relation to the media. And secondly, Flame uses either a matching file name or a defined ID reference to match each CC file with its corresponding media. So if we shift select the remaining segments in the sequence and add the look timeline effects to each segment, when you scrub the sequence, each segment will have its own unique look defined by the CDL data in the subfolder. So those are the two automated methods for injecting CDL data into the sequence. Either use an interchange format with embedded CDL data, or have a subfolder with your media containing the CDL data, which is linked via the file name or CCID. And if the automation is unsuccessful, you can still load looks manually. As a final reminder, you can drive the look node through a tactile device like a tangent panel, for instance. And lastly, it is possible to interchange the CDL data with Lustre if it's part of your production workflow. I hope you have found this video useful, and please be sure to check out the other workflows, features and enhancements to the Flame 2018.2 update. Comments, feedback and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Flame Learning channel for future videos.